Alright, sensors are all right here. Clean them all up. These are the old O-rings. New ones on there. 3 on there. 3 on there as well. Cleaned up the dipstick. Cleaned up the filters on the solenoid. Nice and clean. They were super clogged. And on this solenoid there's O-rings. I don't know what to call them. These little cylinders here. They could bring them right out. Show you guys real quick. See? Comes out just like that. Put them in there and just make sure to set in that O-ring. I still got to clean up these lines, these cooler lines. And here's a breather line here. Let's get started on putting these sensors on. I'm going to start off with the shift solenoid. The bracket will go right here. And the rebuild kit came with the brand new gasket. Got it on already and just got to bolt it right up.
This is a Chuki Beat production.
I'm going to put in these sensors right here. The black one, PL08, will be on the top side right here. The brown one, PL11, will go on this bottom side. Alright, putting on the other solenoid. The next sensor. This one is the 01207. Go right here. Now this one will be the green sensor. And I still gotta tighten this one right here. This little nut that I just told you guys about. I gotta tighten that. Gotta get a wrench for it. Alright, and now we just installed the other black sensor, the 0Z08. Got the black pressure sensor here. And it goes here on this side. Car wasn't in park when I first worked on it. I don't think there should be a problem because I did leave it in park and the sensor is on park, so there shouldn't be a problem. I don't think there should be, so if I do, I know what it is. So I cleaned up the hoses, the cooler line, and the kit came with new washers for them. Let's go ahead and throw those on. One goes there, and then one will go on the bottom side. It's going to be torqued down to 17 foot-pounds. Also got the breather hose. Goes right on. The other line, new washers as well. Got one right here. 17 foot-pounds as well on this one. Transmission is finished up. Next thing we got to do is drain the oil, drop the oil pan, get the flex plate out the way, and we're going to be replacing the rear main seal while we're at it. After that, we'll be flushing the cooler lines because there's trash from the transmission. All the clutch plate friction material, when it deteriorates, it goes into the cooler. You know, it goes everywhere. So we cleaned out the transmission and now we gotta clean out the cooler. the oil pan off. I had to drop the exhaust. I was trying to drop it with the over there with the hanger and stuff. Didn't drop it enough to clear those studs. Dropped it, cleaned it up, hit it with the Scotch-Brite, so it's good to go. Also on the rear main, cleaned all that up. And right here we got the rear main seal. I already took off the old seal, put on the new one. It was a pain to get that old one off. I never had a seal stick on there so hard. It took quite a bit to get it off, but as you can see, it's all clean now. Underneath, all clean as well. So that's ready to go. I got some Honda Bond ready to go to put on the rear main seal and then close it back up. We'll have a new oil pan gasket. As you can see, oil pan is all clean. So right now, gonna prep the rear main seal with the Honda Bond. Back at it. Last night had put on the exhaust, took off the bolts that connect it to the header, and then I dropped it from the bracket that holds it on to the block itself, and that's pretty much all you have to do. I took it down from the hanger right there next to the cap, and I'm pretty sure that was unnecessary. Everything was torqued down, oil pan, rear main seal, and so I gotta throw the flex plate back on. But right now what I'm doing, I got this cooler clean. You could buy this at your auto parts store. I got it connected to the return line, put a fitting on there. I had cut it off. This is a fitting that comes on to the cooler clean. Cut it off with a razor blade and found this little fitting in the garage which fit pretty good, and now got it connected to the return line. Just with the pressure from the can, I already shook it up, and so I just gotta put like a bottle here to catch all the cleaner that comes out of it. Should be good to go. Then I'll put the flex plate on, and then we'll throw the transmission back up. Alright, so finished up the cooler. It only took one bottle to clean it out. You could see it coming out, and it was coming out clear, so I feel pretty confident in that. Here's the fluid. Obviously some oil came out with it, and then it started coming out like grayish looking, and yeah, you can see some grit in there and stuff. I don't know how well it comes off in the camera. There's grit in there. I'm going to be putting on the flex plate. Let me go ahead and clean it all up. I'm going to be adding some blue Loctite onto the flex plate bolts. As you guys can see, cleaned up the starter, put it on. If you guys are doing a rebuild, pretty much want to get a new torque converter. Has the new seal on there already. And I put about a quart of oil, transmission oil, into the converter, and that's just to get the fluid already in there. You know, don't want to damage anything when you first start it up. And the torque converter is just going to slide right on there. You should hear about like 3 clicks, and that means the converter is all the way in. So got the transmission down here. I was trying to do it myself, but this transmission is heavy, and it keeps trying to rotate while I have it on the jack. I know I need a transmission jack. This is all I have right now. So I gotta wait for some help to arrive. Throw it on up here, and then I'll turn on the camera again. Oh, transmission is in. I didn't get to record pretty much any of it because once my dad had came home to help, you know, by the time we put up transmission and everything, the sun started going down. It's pretty dark. So got everything together. The mount, the torque on these 28 pounds, and the torque on this bolt here is going to be at 40 pounds. The torque on the bolts that go onto the transmission are going to be at 47 pounds. I already hooked up the connections and everything, so that's all good. All the connections done. And don't forget about that connection over here on the back side. I don't know if you guys could see it, but it would be that that green sensor that we had put back on the transmission there. Bolts back here on the mount are done. New filter on there, of course. Like I said, got the new rear main seal and the new oil pan gasket on there. Downpipe, everything is here. The bracket for the downpipe, flex pipe, and don't forget about the bolt that's up in here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's right there. Don't forget to put that one on, and that one will be at 47 pounds. What I gotta do is put on the bolts from the flex plate onto the torque converter. We're just gonna put them on hand tight first, and then gonna come around and tighten them up and torque them down. I'm gonna put the inspection plate right back up. Throwing on the distributor, put on a new O-ring onto here so we don't have to worry about any leaks. Clean up the valve cover a little bit because there was quite a bit of dirt on there. Alright, so everything on the top side with the engine and all the battery connections, starter is all done. We got the distributor hooked up. Now what we really got to focus on is the suspension. Got to put that front cross member on, and then we got to put the radius arms. Now for that center bolt right here, I couldn't find the specs on it, but I just put it at 40 pounds, just like this other transmission bolt. So it should be good at 40 pounds, not worried about it. I put the radius bars in and put this suspension. I haven't tightened it down yet, but I did tighten down the radius bars. So put in the radius bars first. As you can see, the passenger side, it's shaped differently because of the transmission. After that, put in the CV joints, the axles here, and easily they should just slide in and just give them a nice little shove inside the transmission, and they should be put in place. After that, go ahead and put on the suspension fork here. I haven't completely put it on yet, but you're going to put on the suspension fork. Gonna have to put in the CV joint into the hub here, the knuckle. I'll do that for you guys right now. And now you'll be able to place the bolt in the lower control arm. The bolt's gonna go this way, and the nut will be on the back. Same for the other side. Almost forgot to put the nut on it. Now you're gonna tighten up the top of the fork here. Now right now it kind of has a little bit of a gap between the shock and the fork itself, so give a little lift on it until it reaches the top, and then start tightening it down so you get the proper adjustment. Now I just gotta torque everything up. Alright, almost ready to start this thing up. I just gotta throw some fluids in it. So first thing, I'm gonna put some engine oil. Right now, without it running, I'm gonna fill it up, put a few quarts in, and when the dipstick is showing full, when it's not running, then we're gonna start it up. And then once it's started up, go through all the gears while I check the oil, and just gotta let it keep running. Finally, let it stabilize. Gonna be using Honda transmission oil. So far, I've put in 4 quarts of Honda transmission oil, plus there's about a quart in the transmission. In the torque converter. Start it up, go through the gears while I check the oil, and as I keep filling it up. Alright guys, so that last clip you saw was the last point of where I was recording, because a lot of things went down. So after what you guys saw, I went to go take the Accord on a drive, which I'm actually in right now. So I took the Accord on a drive, and reverse wasn't working and fourth gear was not engaging, so we started thinking about what could be wrong with it and what's going on. And actually on the rebuild kit, on the instructions, it actually gives you some symptoms that if something's not working right, it may be this, and this. So right here, if you guys could see, it says in reverse position, and then it says what does it say? No or low fourth clutch pressure. Probable cause is fourth clutch, or it could be servo valve or fourth clutch. So servo valve would actually be on the valve body, and here on the valve body is the servo valve, and over here would be the CPC reverse, which is clutch pressure reverse. We most likely had a problem with the valve body. So I had to take the transmission all the way back down and open everything back up. Now if you guys remember, if you guys been on this channel, I did the on my 01 Prelude, I did the automatic to manual transmission swap, and so I still had the transmission from the Prelude, which the Prelude and the Accord pretty much share a lot of the parts, and I never went to go scrap it. I actually meant to go scrap it a while back, but I just never got around actually to doing it and driving over there. So good thing I still had that transmission left over. So I took down the Accord transmission, opened it all up, then I got the Prelude transmission, opened it up, got the valve body from it, looked things over, and the valve bodies are the same. So I swapped over the Prelude valve body. Now if you guys remember, when I did the valve body for the Accord, I had a hard time taking out the valves out of it so I could polish the bore and just get things, make sure everything's running smoothly. Now when I got the valve body out from the Prelude transmission, the valves were a whole lot easier to get out, and I didn't really have any problems with that one. So it might have been a problem with the valve body, and when I was getting them out, scratched the walls or the bore from the valves, and causing it not to get pressure and causing the valves not to move. So swapped in the Prelude valve body, closed everything all up. Now on this day that I did all of this, I worked straight 24 hours. I didn't get no sleep. I just wanted to hurry up, finish it up, and get this Accord done with. Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention, when I opened up the transmission, when I talked about the snap rings having to be being real difficult to put on the cover, on the transmission cover, it's because by experience, me and my dad had seen that they just popped right off. When we took off the cover, the rings were out, and it's just obviously not good. So we had to really beat on them. We had to get a socket on it and hit it with the hammer just to get these snap rings to finally set in place. Now the reason why they're most likely not setting in place is because of the new O-rings. The new O-rings are obviously fresh and they're pushing up against, so you really got to push down on them and get the snap ring in there. and it's real tricky. It looks like it's setting in there, but it's not. You know, so you guys got to really pay attention to that, or the snap rings will just pop off once pressure gets inside of the transmission, and it could cause problems with the transmission. Now I did all the work over again, put the transmission back in the Accord, just to find out it makes a noise. And it started making a noise. It sounded like tin metal, something like tin metal hitting. Now my dad thought maybe the brakes, the shield on the brakes was hitting up against the rotor and causing a noise. But you know, we started hearing this noise, and we just weren't sure what it was. So I mentioned, took it down the first time to rebuild the transmission. Took it down the second time to change out the valve body. Now we didn't exactly take it off fully this other time because we could hear a noise coming from the cover, from the outer cover, you know, on the passenger side. So we kind of dropped it enough to where we could get the cover off, and we opened it up, and right away I could tell that what was wrong with it is that I had put the reverse gear flipped around the other way. The reverse gear, if you guys saw the other video, should have facing the line where you could see it, the line on the reverse gear. So we were kind of just, you know, having the transmission really try to hang as low as possible and get the case like kind of slide it off to where we have enough room to play with the reverse gear and flip it so we could shut it back together and throw the transmission without fully taking off the whole transmission, which, to be honest, we probably might have just been easier just to get the transmission off. So now we've already taken it off about 2.5 times, right? Now we closed everything back up and put all the parts on. We started up and there's a noise in there. We're just not sure what it is. You know, all the gears are working. We're just not sure what's going on. And, you know, we had no clue on to what was making a noise. And so I drive the car a little bit, you know, I drive it maybe like 30 minutes out and, you know, just testing it out to see what's going on. And it had no problem going, but on the way back, I would say about halfway on the way back, it just shut off on me real bad. It's like stalling a manual car, and the gears were slipping, and it just, I can't even explain what was going on. It was just making a whole bunch of problems. You know, it wasn't taking off. It had a hard time switching gears, so I had to wait. I sat at a grocery store for a couple of hours until traffic died down, and so at night there would be no traffic and I could try to drive it home. Now when I drove it home, it still was having problems, but it would only go up to second gear. But luckily I was able to drive it all the way home, and I took it down another time. When I opened it up, a whole bunch of like metal shavings, broken bearings. Reverse gear having been flipped that second time caused a whole bunch of problems. You know, it caused bearings to go bad, and so even though we corrected it, it was already too far gone. You know, I can't really explain what was going on the inside, but my guess is that now the bearings aren't there. Now there's play in between the gears, and just things are hitting, and then there's metal shavings everywhere, you know, so it's causing a lot of havoc on the transmission. Bearings went inside of the pump gears, messed up the pump gears. It pretty bad, you know. There's a lot of things that was going on in that transmission, and you know, it just really destroyed a lot of parts in the transmission. All right, so here we are back in the lab again. And transmission is all put together, but the bearings I had to replace were these right here. Also replaced the this little, let me see, it's like the washer that sits on there. Replace that. These are still good. Also changed out the first and second accumulator here, so not even running the check valve, and also changed out the separator plate. As you can see here, it's pretty messed up from the pump gears, and the pump gears are pretty messed up because a bearing got in there, and like I said, it had shut the car off. So you could see where it really ate a gear, and this little pin, this pin is bent and it won't come out, so that's trash. Here's the other pump gear. You can see it really ate it. It's pretty messed up, but I mean, good thing I didn't trash that transmission when I was going to, and so got the parts for it. Now the prelude separator plate is a little bit different over here because it doesn't use those check valves, and so it just doesn't have as much holes as this one for the fluid to go through. Also, another thing had to change out for the secondary shaft is where the bearing, where it sits on, is pretty messed up. I guess because the clearances changed once the bearings went out, and you can see it really ate that up. Now some of the little dings are from me getting it out, but you can see it's not right at all. The bearing was okay, but I still changed it out anyways. Here's the bearing for that, so it sit right on top, and of course the secondary shaft would be sitting in there. Now here's the first and second accumulator from the Accord, and the reason why I changed it out is because it has some scratches in there, and you know, I don't want to risk putting it in there. I don't know how good that comes out, but it looks pretty deep in person. Also, I did change out the springs that are in the first and second accumulator, so now it is utilizing the Prelude first and second springs in there, as well as third and fourth springs in there. They're a little bit different. I believe they're going to be a bit stiffer, so we'll see how it runs with those. But you know, change those out, so might as well change out third and fourth. And this was a bearing, and here's part of the bearing there, and part of it here, and here's some of the metal shavings that came out of it. Some of the shavings are in the cleaning fluid, it's in the pan, and it just kind of went everywhere. When I was taking the transmission apart, it was just falling out of everywhere. Let's see, I changed this, like, I'm not sure what to call it, a spacer or a washer, because you can see the markings there. So changed it out while I have the parts already. Changed out the little screen because it was pretty much facing the other way. I'll try to push it back, but you can see it's out of shape, so change that out as well. No bearings on this, so of course change that out, and change this like washer or spacer out as well because there's some pitting on there. And I'm also changing out second gear because there's like some pitting. There's part of a bearing like welded onto second gear, but besides that, I mean, the gear itself looks okay, but had to change it out because of that. So here is the Prelude second gear. The Accord second gear ratio is a 1.428, and the Prelude is a 1.427. So it's not going to be like a huge difference, but there is a difference there. But after I put this on, just gotta clean up the case here, make sure all the metal is out of there, and we should be good to go. Everything has been inspected, everything has been taken apart and ran through, taking all the metal shavings out, and it's really clean. You guys saw the video clip on the parts I changed out, and you guys saw some of those pictures. Another thing I didn't mention in the little clip you guys saw is that on second gear the clutches were pretty dark looking, almost like black looking. Now I mentioned I did drive the car all the way back home on second gear, and so I'm guessing some of the clutches were slipping at the time and caused the clutches to go black. But like I said, I left those clutches in there, which was kind of messing with my head mentally. But I cleaned everything all up, threw it all back together, made sure, you know, everything was correct. Threw it back in the car, started it up. You know, all the gears were working correctly, but when I would throw it in reverse was working, but you hear like a clicking sound, like ga, ga,
it'll like let go of reverse and you hear like a clicking sound. And so I was like, man, I gotta take it back down again. I took it down again, opened it up, and for a while I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. You know, I started looking at everything, but finally I figured it out. It was that the collar for where you switch gears for the gear selector, it was like stuck. I don't know exactly how it happens, but I made sure it was moving freely. So now it was moving freely, and I was pretty sure that was the problem. So it was moving freely, and so at the time I went ahead, opened up second gear, well, the clutches, and I switched out some of the clutches into clutches that weren't burnt. So now I feel pretty confident in that everything is working. It's a lot of things, a lot of learning that I did. I don't have anybody next to me to tell me, hey, you need to make sure you do this, and that, and make sure this is correct. I'm just teaching myself and with the help of YouTube. But finally, threw the transmission in back again, and it was just really crazy well, not crazy, it's just a lot of work, a lot of learning. And would I do this again though? Yeah, I'll do it again. I would take down another transmission. It's just part of learning. You're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna make errors, you're gonna have problems come along, and you gotta figure it out, and that's how you learn. So I'm not mad about like this happened or that happened. Good thing I had the Prelude transmission to share all these parts, and I didn't have to go out and source these parts or buy them from the dealership, spend more money, and it would have just been real crazy and real expensive. But still, the cost is still way below of what a shop would have charged. And plus, I learned a lot, and I don't have no problem, or I'm not scared to do another transmission. You guys just gotta take it head on and just expect these things to happen. Now, I think you guys could understand why I didn't really record any of this, because if I had recorded all of this, it would have been a super long video, and I was trying to keep it under like 25 minutes, max 30 minutes. And so I think hopefully you guys understand, and I just really want to be transparent with you guys. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to try to BS nobody. I mean, if you guys feel pretty confident in that you could take down transmission, you could open it up and remember all the parts. I mean, in the rebuild kit, it has like pictures and everything, and plus you could go on to websites and see diagrams. So I hope this doesn't like scare any of you guys to do this, but just know that you might make a mistake, and just give yourself some time. And I mean, you guys are learning through me. I didn't see any YouTube videos where anyone's doing it for their first time, and or how anyone gives any of this advice. That's why I'm making all these videos, putting in all these little comments and stuff, so you guys could take this, and hopefully you guys could do it. My videos are really helpful to you guys. Let's go ahead and take this car on a test drive and see how it drives. Everything's sounding good, it's quiet. Here it is.
I'll throw it in reverse just so you guys, you know. See, no problem with reverse. Just so no one says like, ah, nah, I bet you reverse still don't work. But but as you guys can see, it's running smooth and I feel pretty confident in it. Well, alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this little transmission rebuild series that I made, and hopefully it helped some of you guys. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them down below in the comment section. Also, you can hit me up on Snapchat or Instagram. All that information will be down in the description box, so make sure to check that out. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support you guys give me. I'm going to keep making videos, so make sure you guys are subscribed, and I'll catch you guys on the next one, alright?
This is a Chuki Beat production.